Ravens victory, and Rita's going to join us in just 1 second. It is Project Game Day, a weird week 4, to say the least. A very strange week 4, but what's most important is that the Ravens are victorious 28-3. Project Game Day post-game show is brought to you by Superbook Sports. Still to come tonight, the opportunity for you to get in on New England Dallas this afternoon. Cowboys favored by 6. Use the code GlennClark23 when you sign up at superbook.com or download the Superbook app in order to take advantage of it up to $250 in a first bet match, win or lose. All right, Glenn Clark. Rita is here. She's got to unmute herself, but she is here.
I'm here.
All right, what's going on, Rita?
Hey guys, I am at the New Green Turtle in Canton. I'm in my car at the moment because I wanted you to hear me. But I'm at the New Green Turtle in Canton. They had a official opening today, and so it's crazy. They had the TV outside. They were giving away prizes. Apparently, they bust people from other Green Turtles down here. So there was a lot going on. Got to see our good friend Glenn. We got to see Jeremy Kahn.
Very cool. Very cool.
Sam Barbalay. So it was cool. It was
very cool.
It was very nice. Ravens win. So it's been a really good day. And hello, Trippy. How are you?
Yeah, Trippy's here. But before we get to him, let's get to the third member of our crew for this afternoon. He is, of course, Ravens Super Bowl champion, our friend, Mr. Femi Ayanbadejo, and he is with us, and he'll be with us a few times this season here on Project Game Day. Femi, what's going on, brother?
How y'all doing?
Everything
Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, Rita.
It's good to see you, man. And, I think the best place to start for this, and I'll let you go there first, and then I'll get Rita go there next. The thing that matters, of course, is that the Ravens won. The thing that everybody's going to talk about is, what did we really learn from a game in which the Browns started a quarterback who clearly was not ready for this today? So obviously we know, and as a player, you play whoever's lined up on the other side. That's the way that it works. But as a neutral observer now, what do you take from a win against a team that didn't have, and maybe this young man will prove to be good, but as of today, he didn't appear to be an NFL caliber quarterback just yet?
Yeah, I know DTR very well. My brother went to UCLA. I watch a lot of Pac-12 football. Excellent athlete. He's learning. I saw some good things from DTR today, but he's just not ready. And I don't care who's on the other side of the ball. The Ravens have dealt with more injuries than any team in regard to starters and WAR, wins above replacement, than any team in the last 20 years over the last 3 years. That's a fact. And nobody cared about that when we lost or got beat. Lamar wasn't out there for a lot of those losses. Nobody poured out any water for us or liquor for us. No one cared. So I don't care who's out there. You hit everything that moves and you play the football game. So from a continuity perspective, I have a lot of issues still with protection by the offensive line. Some of the play calling was a little odd to me. I felt like where the softness was in the defense of Cleveland was inside, and Coach Monken got there eventually. Lamar ran, QB draw, QB power, got there eventually as well. Zay made some plays. Mark Andrews is looking healthier. So you take the wins, but we know this Ravens team is far from being polished. We know they're far from where they should be 6, 7, 8 weeks from now. There's still reinforcements coming, but at the end of the day, the hardest thing to do in professional football is win on the road, and they did that. So if you want to get into the micro detailing, I can bore you with that all day long. But the truth of the matter is, though, they had over 300 some odd yards of offense, put up 28 points on the board. I'm loving the evolution of Brandon Stevens at the corner position. I pointed him out a couple weeks ago. I said, this young man is always in somebody's pocket. He needs to get his head up. His ball skills need to improve. He's showing that. Geno Stone, what an improvement from a couple years ago. Overall, I think they're missing Ronnie Stanley for sure. I think it's a problem. Mr. Moses needs to stop getting penalties. He needs to find some discipline. I know he's played 10 years. Well, I played 11 years in the league, so I'm his elder in many ways. I can talk about that a little bit. He needs to get his focus on. I love his energy. I love his passion. I love his leadership, but he gets penalized in moments that make me want to throw something at the TV. It really does. And I also feel like there's one other thing I want to talk about. I think special teams needs to turn it up just a little bit still. But that's my 30,000 foot.
I'm going to come back to that in a minute. I'm going to go, Rita, let me go. Go ahead.
I just wanted to follow up with that because I also am a huge Pac-12 fan. I am a big Pac-12 after darker, so I do watch a lot of Pac-12, and I love
we call her. She's a pure-on sicko. I mean, she'll watch Arizona play Cal at midnight on a Saturday night.
So will I. Reeta.
Exactly. If Arizona got some players, I'm gonna watch them. I mean, I'm gonna watch Washington. Whoever got the guys, I'm gonna watch them. I really love DTR at UCLA. I'm a fan, and I actually was a guy. He was actually a guy that I was interested in, hoping that the Ravens were interested in drafting. To bring to this team. So I just want to say that I do think that he does have the skills to be an NFL player, but I do think that he was put in a position. Look, he was just put in a position at the wrong week, wrong time, wrong place, wrong
team,
time,
wrong team. Ravens, they feast on rookies.
Exactly. We know that the history of the rookie quarterbacks against the Ravens is not. It just doesn't bode well, and I think he'll be fine. I just think that the situation at hand is what got him in the position. Now, I do think that it's something because what people will say is, well, if Deshaun Watson, outside of last week, where Deshaun Watson, I think, had 80% of his passes completed, he only had 55%. So if the Ravens are behind Cleveland in terms of yards allowed per play, who was to say that Deshaun Watson was going to be any better today?
Exactly.
I'd argue that he wouldn't have been. So I think that that's something that we have to discuss because I see too many people saying, well, Deshaun Watson has only played good one game out of 3.
Irrelevant. Hey, we talk about who's out there because when the Ravens are missing players, nobody seems to want to talk about it. So I don't care who's out there. And I don't care about Deshaun Watson. So if he's not out there, too bad. I don't want to hear about shoulda, woulda, coulda. Either you won the damn game or you didn't. You lost. You got your ass whipped. Keep it moving. See you in a couple weeks.
I love this. Femi is on fire. Femi's on fire.
I'm just irritated by stupidity. You know what I'm saying?
I understand that.
People talking nonsense.
Femi, so let me phrase it a different way. Then I want to bring in some of our other panel. Let me phrase it a different way, because I agree with you, of course, and I know this is the way the football works, right? I think it's the context is different, right? The first context is what mattered today, and what mattered today is you played against the team that you played against. I think the next layer of the context is, do you feel like the Ravens got closer today to being a team that is capable of winning the AFC, capable of making a Super Bowl run?
They did. Why? Because they won. Of course they are. Why are you asking silly questions, Glenn? Of course they are. Yeah, they won. That's what happens. Let me ask you a question though. If Deshaun Watson's out there, right, and we have we have our starting corner out there, we have our starting free safety out there, we have our starting receivers out there, we have our starting offensive lineman out there. Is this game any different? I don't even like to play this woulda, shoulda, coulda game.
Right.
If somebody wants to play that game, we have more players off the field. We are missing more quality starters than they were. I know they're missing their quarterback, but as Reeta said, he really hasn't showed me anything yet. He played great last week. Okay, cool. That's one game. One game does not a season make. You know what I mean? So the bottom line is we're still missing more starters than them. We just outplayed them. We're more physical than them. Now, guess what? Their front seven is a problem. For real. Real problem.
So let's get into that. First of all, our friend Trippy is with us. He didn't go out to Cleveland this week. What's going on, Trippy? How you doing, buddy?
What's going on, man? That was a good victory.
Yeah, it was a very good victory. I agree with that. And our friend Andrew, hang on, our friend Andrew Steck is here too. Andrew, do me a favor and unmute yourself when you get the chance, just so we can chat with you, if you don't mind, as Andrew is also on board. I'm gonna give this a broader. Is the bigger story today that the Ravens did find an offensive groove against what had been the best defense in the NFL coming into today? And obviously it wasn't 4 quarters of an offensive groove, but into the second quarter and to start the second half, the Ravens, even starting on the drive with the fumble and the fumbled exchange, the Ravens started picking things up offensively and moving the ball. And after that, the next 3 or 4 drives were pretty successful until they appeared to sort of be willing to just say, hey, let's run the ball. We have control of this game. Yep. Is that the bigger story of what happened today, that the Ravens proved that even a depleted offense can get the job done against a strong Browns defense?
I mean, a bigger story versus what other story? Like what are we comparing this to? I mean, are you just saying that that's the narrative coming out of this? They did what they needed to do. They moved the ball enough when required and they won the game. Is that your question? I mean,
no, I think it's more of a level of excitement. We talk about in the context of, did they look closer to being a team that won the Super Bowl? I think there's a level of excitement for the thing that you were concerned about in this game was the Browns defensively had shut down their first 3 opponents this season. It made the Bengals look silly in week 1, right? Like this has been a dominant Browns defense. So I think even putting together that groove for the better part of 2 quarters to me is another statement on what the Ravens might be building offensively.
I still think Coach Monken is finding his groove in play calling, because I have a bit of an issue with probably 30% of the play calls. I had the same issue last week, but I think he's getting to learn his players a little bit. And I do understand Coach Harbaugh's in his ear, right? You got the QB coach in his ear, and then you're winning the game and you're playing against a rookie quarterback. So I do think some of the play calling today was, let's just, we got a big lead, just like you said, let's just run this clock out. Let's get out of here with as few injuries as possible. But 30,000 foot big picture, like macro, this team is trending in the right direction for sure. And this defense is so underrated. These guys rally to the ball so fast. And what I love today is the pressure they got with the guys that they had. Noah Jabo, right? Noah Dafe-Owe. You didn't have Kyle Hamilton wearing his cape today. He just went out there and played solid football. He didn't have 3 sacks. Defense did it as a collective. And really what I like is the coverage by the corners. And I keep pointing out Brandon Stevens, Geno Stone, Kyle Hamilton. All these guys played as a unit, and Roquan and Queen together, my goodness. The Ravens defense is for real. So I just think overall they did what they had to, they did what they had to do to win the game, but I still think that they're learning about each other on offense, and they got a bunch of reinforcements that are coming. And I think that teams better be paying attention, because where they are now, based on the talent that's available, they're about 75% of what they will be, in my opinion, in 6 weeks. I don't know if you agree with that, Andrew, or not, but that's just where I am.
I do. I also think it's really important to point out that they're still missing a lot of pieces from this offense.
Yep.
Like, there's still a lot of puzzle pieces to plug in. Ronnie Stanley, Rashad Bateman, Odell Beckham. Like, there's a lot. And we finally got to see Mark Andrews get going today, which was great. And he's been one of those puzzle pieces that has been trying to get into this thing for the first few weeks. The narrative out of this game to me is that, and I hate to say this, but it was kind of boring. It was like you said, it was kind of an ass whooping, and that's fine. Like, you're going to get those because you're playing against a rookie quarterback who kind of got thrown into the mix. But Glenn, I mean, they've kind of started to build. What I'm seeing them start to build is the type of team that I think you had been kind of itching for over the last few seasons. And that's a team that can be offensively explosive and make plays and score with the likes of the Bills, the Chiefs, maybe even the Dolphins at some point, and compete in this AFC, and a defense that can make plays and maybe is not like outstanding, like top to bottom, because how can you have an outstanding defense these days in the NFL? It's so hard to do that, but it's a defense that can make plays. And yeah, they got a chance to do it today against, I think a less than offense led by a rookie quarterback, but they still did it. And you still have to go out and do it on the field. And they did that. And that's a good thing.
All right, Trippy, let me go to – hang on. I just want to go – okay, go ahead, Reeta.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead with Trippy, because I was going to say something, and I was going to say let Trippy speak. But I'll let Trippy speak, and then I'll follow behind him.
Oh, all right. I appreciate that. It was a good game. I feel what y'all are saying, but, like, at the same time, I feel like Todd, he's still trying, fill out the plays and stuff, because we definitely was moving the ball, but at the same time, I feel like it was certain plays, like, it's nothing wrong with Gus Edwards, but like a certain screen plays to him, I feel like that was like more for like a Hill type, goal.
It's funny you say that, Trippy. I felt like the offense actually got into a different gear when Justice Hill was in the game.
Yeah. And I kept saying, like, because I was about to tweet, like, is Justice Hill playing today? Then as soon as I looked, he was in the game. But I mean, the defense, for the pass rushers we have, you can see potential. Like, you can see something going. And like I said, maybe that was the spot we needed. We got the Steelers this week. And I look at it like this, right? Because, like, right now, I can't wait to get on Twitter, because, like, I can't wait to talk to all these other AFC North teams. I'm talking about, we lost to the Colts. They was, this and that. But listen, all of them lost, right?
And lost bad, too.
Right. And listen to this, Reeta. The Ravens, a total points of 28, right? The rest of the AFC North, 9. I'm going to put the numbers up, how many points were scored up against them, too, and put that up there, too, so people can know, like, yeah, we got a little bit of injuries, but we ain't no team, like, to play with. You see what I'm saying? Like, we still learning. You know what I mean? I still want to see Todd do some more, get the playmakers involved, start, getting the ball downfield more. Because I ain't going to lie to you, like, I'm really tired of them short passes. Yeah, they help out, but I want to start seeing the stretch the field more. You know what I mean? But, other than that, it was a good game. We got the victory. So now I can move on from this Colts game. You know what I mean? 'Cause I still was worried about that regardless, because that was a conference game. So
Yeah.
No,
they
I
did
gotta
look good,
I
so,
gotta
yeah.
assume that Tuesday for the Tyus Bowser show will be a
yeah,
good
it
day.
should be a fun night
Yeah.
on Tuesday night
Yeah.
at Guilford Hall Brewery, as we'll have
For
Tyus and
sure.
a special guest with us Tuesday night. It's funny
Maybe-
because go ahead,
let
Rita.
me speak, because I definitely feel like this needs to be said. I understand that there's a lot of concern about how conservative that the Ravens were today, but I also think that for today you have to give the Ravens grace. They knew that DTR was a rookie. They know that their record against rookie quarterbacks is very good, and I don't think that they had to do anything special to beat DTR in that offense. If it's Deshaun Watson, I think that that's a different scenario where you can't be that conservative. But playing a guy like him who just got first rep snaps this week in practice, you can be a little bit conservative for. So I think that the judgment of how this offense was constructed for today should be reserved for another day. Because if I'm Todd Monking, I'm not putting out all the stops either against the Browns, who are literally struggling to get yards against this defense. And I think that that's a fair thing to acknowledge.
I tend
Yeah,
to
I
agree
agree.
with. Go ahead, Rita. I tend to agree with you. I will say that I did think at the beginning of the game it wasn't necessarily about concepts. And Femi, you can tell me if you disagree. I thought at the beginning of the game they really were just struggling with this Browns defense and that unbelievable front that the Browns are presenting. I just didn't think they had answers in the second quarter. And to Trippy's point, it really did seem to coincide. And this is not a knock on Gus Edwards. And I really, as I said about J.K. Dobbins, I do believe that Gus Edwards and Justice Hill is a very capable combo moving forward for this team. But it felt like today, Justice Hill and what he can do in space was just a little bit more necessary once they got into that battle with that front seven from the Browns. And
even Melvin Gordon,
that's a great point.
Had plays today. So I think that you're right in bringing that up. Justice Hill, yes, but also we can't.
Yep.
I know we want to ignore Melvin Gordon.
No, but he caught
love him.
that really nice feathered pass from Lamar Jackson down the left sideline.
Can we give Lamar some grace, Rita? Can we give Lamar some love too? Right?
Yes, absolutely.
Let me tell you this: the issue that I have long term is ball security. Ball security is going to cost you a game at some point if you don't zip that up, and that's a problem. The penalties are going to cost you a game at some point. They costed you a game kind of against Indianapolis. You know what I mean?
Yep.
If you don't, to Trippy's point, try to get the ball downfield at some point, and I know you don't have all your horses right now, but you're going to have to take more shots downfield. That could cost you a game in regard to explosives at some point. The penalties, right? Like the tackles. And I know I mentioned some folks already. I don't want to say anyone's name again, but my concern is the holding call specifically. I'm okay with a couple of the PIs because that was Brandon Stevens in coverage. The ball's like thrown behind. That he was in too good a coverage. That's why that was a penalty. But let me talk about special teams for a minute. I love Devin Duvernay, but he looks like he's tiptoeing around.
That was a wretched.
He looks like he's tiptoeing around right now.
Yes.
Like I don't know what he's doing, but he's not running like he was before. Fearless, get the ball and just take off. That dude's legit low 4.4, 4.3 guy. He looks like he's running 4.6 right now. Sometimes I don't know if he's hurt. I don't know if he's being tentative. But in my opinion, he needs to start to be a little more aggressive. And maybe they're just telling him to do some of this stuff. But I just don't see the explosion and the intent that he had in the past, last year before that, even when he was younger, right? I just don't see that. And I feel like you're going to need all those little things to kind of come together if you're going to be a championship team. Can you win the AFC North like this? Maybe. Can you win a playoff game like this? Maybe. Can you make it to the AFC championship game like this? I don't think so. But I'm looking further down the road. All the pieces are in the building. Everything the Ravens want to do is in the building. It's completely up to them. I just see them on occasion getting in their own way. If I'm nitpicking, like as an analyst, if I'm nitpicking a little bit, they do cause their own problems at times. The Indianapolis game is a perfect example of them getting in their own way. From special teams to penalties, to turning the ball over, ball security. That's why they lost that game. Now, let me say this last thing. I feel like Lamar has shown touch, velocity, accuracy, and great decision-making. I mean, he's really playing good football. And if Lamar just keeps doing what he's doing, ball security is really the only thing he needs to work on. I think he's at that MVP level right now. If the season's early, we're only in the first quarter of the season. You got Tua doing MVP type things. You got Justin Herbert doing MVP style like things. There's other guys that are out there that are MVP worthy as well. But I think Lamar is right on track, and I'm hoping that this time back now he's kind of got his feet wet a little bit. He's got Coach Monken's philosophy in his mind. He understands what he wants to do. I think Lamar is just going to play even better football going forward.
Let me hang for a second, because the Project Game Day postgame show is brought to you by Superbook Sports and HelpMyGamblingProblem.org. Remember that if you or a loved one has a gambling problem, you can go to HelpMyGamblingProblem.org or call 1-800-GAMBLER for free confidential services. Femi, you brought up something about Devin Duvernay, and it leads me to an interesting question. Because the fair catch to me was it was alarming. I mean, it was really eye-opening.
And there was one that was very egregious.
That one
was around it for 10
yards.
Yeah.
We're all talking about the same one.
Yeah.
I mean, that was insane. And I just wonder if Devin Duvernay thought he was going to be, I'm sure, over the last couple of years, more involved as a wide receiver and was higher on the depth chart in that capacity. And it was pretty clear this offseason that the Ravens wanted to upgrade over Devin Duvernay at the wide receiver position. Do you worry at all that affects him and the rest of his game? Do you worry at all
I
that?
do. Okay. I see tentativeness. Even when he runs jet sweep, he's running out of bounds. He ain't trying to get extra yards. He's not putting his head down. I mean, Zay is smaller than him. Zay is ripped, but Devin Duvernay is ripped, and Devin Duvernay is stacked for it. Like, if you ever seen him really side by side, he's not little. He's short, but he's not little. You know what I mean? And I feel like he doesn't want contact. He's like shying away from it. He's like ducking down, getting down, stepping out of bounds. It's almost like he doesn't want to get touched. Like, you can't play football like that. And to me, that fair catch is a sign of tentativeness, in my opinion. Yeah. Like, you see guys that are like, okay, I got 2 yards. I'm catching this no matter what. There's dudes that refuse to fair catch. I'm not saying that's smart. I'm not even saying I agree with it, but I love the passion. I love the intention, right? When I see guys that are going out of their way to field every ball they can to get a return, that tells me they have that want to in them. They want to do something. They want to make a play. I don't feel like Devin Duvernay is the Devin Duvernay of old, where I felt like every time he touched the ball, there was a chance for a big return. I feel like right now he's just really playing it safe. Can he recover? Absolutely. I just want to have a little pep talk with him because he's got all the tools. He's got a great skill set. I'm assuming he's healthy. I don't think he's lost his speed. I just don't think he's using it.
Femi, I don't know how long you're going to be able to stay with us today, so I want to run a few things by you today as well. Just a couple of things that jumped out at me. Kyle Van Noy in his debut, impactful, I think is the right word. Bats down a pass. He should have had the sack that ended up being an incomplete pass, so he kind of gets bailed out on that one in the first half. But a team that's desperate right now for help. I mean, we got to be frank about this. They are desperate in the edge rush department with David Ajabo now on IR and Adafe Owe haven't been through injuries. They are pulling in Kyle Van Noy, and he's forced to play. Hopefully, Tyus Bowser will be back in the mix in the next couple of weeks as he returns from IR. But how encouraged were you by what you saw from a guy that didn't have a camp, didn't have any time to ramp up, and the idea that he could continue being helpful for the next few weeks to come?
Man, I'm big on him. You know what I mean? I'm real bullish on him. If he's able to do that just coming off the street, I think the sky's the limit for him. He's obviously a punch the clock kind of guy. You know what I mean? He's a hard worker. He's going to do all the little things right. Very disciplined. Was taught how to play football the right way, especially playing under Coach Belichick for so long. Got a couple of Super Bowls, I believe. I think he comes from the right. He's cut from the right cloth. So I think he's going to be great. I'm really not concerned about the defense long term. I'm really not. You know what I mean? There's
even the edge rush specifically, Femi. Because
I'm not. No,
okay.
Because I feel like and I know Andrew made a statement about the Ravens defense. This is a top 5 defense in the NFL. I know the rules aren't the same as they were when I played in 2000, and the game is different than when my brother played in 2012 with the Ravens. I understand that too, but based on the rules and what's applicable and accepted and how the game is played, the Ravens have a very, very, very good defense. And as long as the offense takes care of the football and those guys in the secondary keep playing the way that they're playing, and there's a lot of backups out there. When they get Marlon back, right? When they get Williams back, man, I feel like as long as the offense takes care of the football, I think they're going to be just fine. And I didn't mention Bateman and I didn't mention Odell, of course.
Right, right.
But we know those guys are all coming back. But I think as long as they don't get in their own way on both sides of the ball, I think they're going to be fine.
So let me go back, because I think Reeta and I have talked about it this way a few times over the years. I think that the concept of defense, to your point, is wildly different. What concerns me, I'll go back to the first time the Ravens beat Patrick Mahomes, right? And at the end of the game, when everything was on the line, they needed an edge rusher to be the one to make the play. And it was Owe in his rookie season who was the one who came through and got the strip sack to end that game. So everything you say about the defense, I'm inclined to agree with you about. I think they're a solid defense. I think look, that duo, what Patrick Queen is doing this season, we cannot possibly say enough about. He has been bonkers this year. I thought, it's funny you bring up the old school football. I thought he had murdered DTR on that sack. I thought it was one of the most devastating sacks that I have seen in football this season. That said, I just worry about those games where you need the play to be made by an edge rusher, right? Where everything else has gone well. And at the end of the game, you need one of those guys to step up and make a play and get a team behind the sticks and get them in trouble. And I'm just not sure that they have that playmaker right now that you trust. And maybe the answer is it's going to have to be Queen or Roquan. Reeta,
I think that Clowney has done enough. Well, I understand that he has not finished it. I understand that we're like, he's not finished it, but he has backfield enough where at some point they got to hit. At some point he has to connect. And I just think that it's got to give him time. But I think that Jadeveon Clowney is definitely going to start finishing what he started when it comes to rushing the passer, because he's done a very good job since he's been a Raven. Obviously, he hasn't finished those jobs, but I think eventually you'll start seeing him finish up what he started with those pass rushes. That's where I stand with that.
Yeah, I agree with Reeta. I think that Jadeveon is playing excellent football. He really is. You're right. But he's had tackles in the backfield where guys have slipped loose. It happened last week against with Zach Moss. It happened today too. My biggest issue right now with the defensive front is not pressure, because I think they're doing it collectively. They're finding creative ways to get pressure. It's contain on the run. Zach Moss ended up with 100 yards last week because 4 times they did not contain him. Today, there was a penalty with Ford where he broke for like 25. Moon did not keep contained. I'm way more concerned about that than a particular edge rusher getting pressure. They're going to get pressure with Kyle Hamilton, Patrick Queen, Roquan, Matabike. They're going to do it by committee, and that's okay. This defense is good, is very, very good. I don't want to say good enough because that makes it sound like, oh, they're just getting by. No. They're a top 5 defense. They're a top 5 defense. The offense is not carrying their weight yet. Today, they carried their weight for 60% of the game. But we know when this offense gets tuned up, in my opinion, it's going to be a Ferrari. I really believe that. I really believe that when Todd Monken really understands how to use his weapons, when he really is able to call the right play at the right time and really understand where the strength of the offense is on any given week. And we're all going to figure that out too as we go. Like, as you noted earlier, Glenn, that it was tough treading early on. But the advantage was between the tackles, and they ran QB draw. They ran QB power. They got Gus between the tackles. And I love the changeup with Justice Hill. I don't know if he got hurt later in the game or if he tweaked himself, because I think he needed to be out there more personally.
I'm a fan anyway. I'm team Justice Hill over here anyway.
Hey, Justice has won me over big time. Yeah, I wasn't a big fan earlier on. I knew he had the speed to make plays here and there, but he had fumbled the ball in the past. He had dropped passes. Pass protection was an issue. He can always play special teams, but I see him becoming a more complete back. And his burst is so needed right now with the guys that are on the sideline. It's really important. Let me float one idea to you guys, and I don't know how you guys feel about this, but this goes into the category of Eric DaCosta moves. I feel like Jonathan Taylor is out there.
Ooh, we're doing it. We're doing this.
No, I'm going there. I think he's a difference maker, and I think he's a guy that vaults you from being a very, very good offense to being an elite level offense, where he's a home run guy that can play all 3 downs. And we know how backs get hurt. Why not offer them a 2nd round pick? And or even offer them a first late round pick. Offer them a pick based on availability. Let me tell you why. No, you got listen. Let me tell you why. Because the Ravens, if they're going to go where they think they're going to go, that pick's going to be a 28, 29, 30, 31, or 32 pick. It's not going to be a top 10 pick. It's not going to be a top 20 pick. I will trade a 28, 29, 30 pick to know that you are putting yourself in position to go to an AFC championship game. And it's on you to win it then. If you have Jonathan Taylor, in my opinion, this dude is one of the most complete backs in the NFL. I would give up what I think that 1st round pick is going to be next year, and I would go get that dude for real.
Okay, so let's talk about it. It sounds, when you say that, are you committed to re-signing him then at that
I
point?
am.
Yeah,
I am because
you gotta
because
you
you
gotta
can't
be at
with
that point.
JK. Yeah, you got to be because Gus. Okay, first of all, Gus is not 30, but Gus had a concussion last week. He missed a whole year. He wasn't all the way back last year. Ended up missing, a lot of last year too, right? So, you don't have a back right now. And this is football, and I'm not saying this to be. These are all good guys. I'm not saying they're bad guys. I don't mean this is about availability. And the most important feature in the mix of being a good football player is being available, right? And if you really want to take this offense to the next level, where you can run zone read, you can run power, you can run inside outside zone. Jonathan Taylor can do all of it, and he can pass protect, and he can run the screen game just like Justice Hill. Do you remember when Indianapolis came here 2 years ago, and I think it was the first series of the game, and Jonathan Taylor took a screen 70 yards to the house for a touchdown? Nobody caught him. I remember that play like it was yesterday.
Yep.
That's something that Jonathan Taylor can do. Not many backs can do that. He can. You really want to make yourself elite? I feel like that's a move that Eric DeCosta would make, and maybe it's a little early for that. Maybe he's going to wait a little bit to see if he comes back to practice and if he plays a couple games and he looks good for Indianapolis. But if you get him now and you just make it a conditional pick based on percentage of
like
downs
play time,
played,
yeah,
exactly. Then everybody wins in that case, and I have no problem with that. I think that's a move that needs to be made.
Let me phrase it this way, and I know it's not this simple, but let's say that it came down to, if we had to pay Jonathan Taylor, that probably means we can't pay Patrick Queen. And Reeta, I'll start with you.
Yeah.
By the way, Reeta, he just made this
I
up. Reeta,
pulled it out of thin air. I did.
Up too. He made.
No, wait. But no, but money is real. I mean, we all like to say the cap's not real.
I feel like Patrick Queen is pricing himself out of Baltimore anyway. In that regard. So I've always been, once they decided that they weren't going to exercise his 5th-year option, I've always been concerned about him coming back regardless, right? And I always knew that he would step it up for obvious reasons. He already played at a high level prior to Roquan coming. Roquan has absolutely been a big help in terms of what he's able to do. And then I felt like he was going to price himself out. As of right now, he's pricing himself out as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, he's playing at an absurd level.
But that wasn't his question, though.
I know. So I guess my point is that because he's already pricing himself out, then I'm with you on the Jonathan Taylor trade and signing, because I don't foresee Patrick Queen being back whether Jonathan Taylor comes here or not. I guess that's my point.
Okay. I have a follow-up. So and Glenn, I'm gonna ride with your parameter right now. Even though I don't think it, like you But
hang on, Femi, you understand though that the thought process being, I think a lot of people have accepted the Ravens don't want to spend money at running back because they've already paid Lamar. You
ain't got to explain it to me, brother. You ain't got to explain it to me. I understand all this stuff. Okay, I understand. You ain't got to explain anything.
I love you.
Okay, but my point is that I'm gonna give you an example, because I think this is actually fair. If you think about giving Patrick Queen a 4-year deal for $70 million, or giving Jonathan Taylor a 4-year deal for $70 million, right now, I'm probably gonna give it to Jonathan Taylor. If you ask me, I probably would, if I know he's healthy and I know he can. But this is the thing, though. I need to see him play for us. He doesn't get the deal now. He gets the deal at the end of the year.
Right.
So I'm gonna say, if I'm gonna hold true to your parameter, Glenn, even though I don't like it, I'm gonna hold true to it.
You're saying you would go Jonathan Taylor.
If both guys ball out, and if we get Jonathan Taylor and Patrick Queen does what he's been doing, and I can only choose one, they both are all pro guys. Jonathan Taylor comes to Baltimore. Let's say he ends up playing 10 games, rushes for 1,100 yards, has 7 touchdowns. Patrick Queen ends up with 100 tackles, 7 sacks, 2 picks, 10 tackles for a loss. All pro guys. If I have to pick one based on the need of the team, I'm going to go with Jonathan Taylor, because running back is such an important position. And not to say that weak side linebacker is not important, but I feel like they got a lot younger on that side of the ball already. You know what I mean? And they've already paid guys on that side of the ball. They paid Lamar, they paid Ronnie years ago, and they paid Mark Andrews, but that was a couple years ago too. They've invested a good amount in that defense. I feel like they need to invest a little bit more in that offense still. And Jonathan Taylor, if I had to do it. Now, we know Eric's creative. We know the cap is going to go up maybe 12, 13, 14% next year.
Right.
Maybe we don't have to choose between the two.
It's totally possible.
But if we did, But if
That's
we did, and JT is what I think he is, I had to, and I love PQ. But you're making me choose a kid, and I have to choose one. I'm going to choose JT.
I get the idea that Taylor is special. Andrew Steck, I've been seeing your facial expressions as this conversation has gone on. So I want you to say something in response to it.
I'm just so indifferent on, not indifferent. That's the wrong word. I'm trying not to be dismissive of the grander running back conversation that we have. And I feel like giving up more assets for a running back, which is such a volatile position. I mean, we've seen it with JK, we've seen it with Gus, we've seen it with running backs throughout the league. It's just such a tough risk to take. And it's one that, I don't know. I feel like this offense, I mean, this was the most points they've scored in a game so far this season. I know the season's early, but
it's actually the first time they've scored 28 points in, I think, like a calendar year.
Yeah. I mean, but you're starting to see, like you're talking about, Femi, like you're starting to see the building blocks and the puzzle pieces start to come together a little bit with this offense already. I feel like if you insert someone like Jonathan Taylor into this thing, I'm not saying Jonathan Taylor makes this offense worse. I'm saying it adds another piece to it that, I don't know, they're trying to get going. They're trying to find something. And they did it today against a really good defense.
The way you're talking about it is not the way coaches and players talk about it. They see
I totally
see a good player and they feel like that makes us better. It's not a distraction. It's not another mouth to feed.
I'm not talking about distraction. I don't want to.
No, but you're saying you made the statement that he doesn't make them worse. I'm like, doesn't make them worse.
No, you're right. I worded that poorly. What I kind of mean is this is an offense under a new coordinator that has a lot of new pieces. Now, granted, some of them, like we've mentioned, have been hurt, but like they're trying to figure it out right now and trying to grow something.
So you think Jonathan Taylor stops them from doing that? He's a running back.
I don't think he stops
ball,
them.
Get ball, run with ball. That's it. You know what I mean?
You know what it really sounds like, Femi? It sounds like Andrew hates running backs, so we can give you his address.
Do
you want to fly out there?
Andrew's been listening to all these people say that running backs don't matter.
No, I think they matter.
Absolutely, they absolutely matter. Everybody knows how I feel about running backs. They are undervalued. They are under.
And you're talking to a former running back. Trust me.
I know they matter. Trust me.
I hate how we treat running backs as if they don't go out there and pass block, as if they don't go out there and have to run between tackles, off tackles, as if they don't have to make pass catches. I hate how we treat running backs because I've seen teams without running backs.
And it's bad.
The LA Rams without Todd Gurley going to the Super Bowl was nothing. And y'all will sit here and try to tell me Cooper Kupp. No, it really was because Todd Gurley was not there. And that's why they lost the way they did against the New England Patriots. So I am a big person. I am a big proponent of running backs, period. I think, though, to Femi's point, when you start looking at, let's say, for instance, the Ravens say, okay, we'll do it for a second round pick. And I know that sounds like, oh, my God, it's the second round pick. But I saw earlier today, somebody did a screenshot of like Ravens previous second round picks, I think dating back to as far as like 2014. And really, guys, the list was kind of underwhelming. Outside of J.K. Dobbins, I think Tyus is in that. It was in that list. Yeah. But really outside of that, when you start looking at the rest of the list, it was like either guys never really materialized or they weren't healthy, right? So I guess the point I'm making is that
I just pulled it up. Here's the list, Reeta. Arthur Brown, Timmy Jernigan, Max Williams, who did go on to find some success in Arizona and was
somewhere else. Though,
right, agreed. Kamalai Correa, and then to your point, Tyus Bowser, who was the first of that group and the only of the group to get another contract since 2013. Then Dobbins, and we'll see what happens there, and Ajabo are the next two on the list.
So I guess my point is that, and Ajabo obviously is not a second round pick if he's healthy. So there's that, right? Like that, there's some factors here. So when you look at the previous second round picks, do you really feel like you need a second round pick if you feel like Jonathan Taylor completes your offense? Exactly. I think that's a fair question to have.
Exactly. Then check this out. Christian McCaffrey and Jonathan Taylor are equals, in my opinion. The problem is, they are. They absolutely are. There's no wow. No, they are. They're equivalents. The difference is that Christian McCaffrey is playing for the 49ers and Jonathan Taylor hates where he is. But I'm saying if you look at the skill set and you look at the ability, Jonathan Taylor can do what Christian McCaffrey does. Absolutely. The one thing that Christian McCaffrey does probably a little bit better is that he can run routes from the slot and from like an extended position. Jonathan Taylor, I haven't seen him do much of that. But as far as running between the tackles, elusiveness, top end speed, just being a complete back, downs 1 through 3. That's what I think Jonathan Taylor can be what Christian McCaffrey was to the Niners. He can be that to the Ravens.
But Femi, I'm certainly not going to debate how special Jonathan Taylor is. He is a special player. And it's funny because week 1, I was probably the first person that introduced to our conversation this concept. And we've had, back and forth seemingly every week about it. And I am torn about this, right? Like I am, because I think as far as going and getting good football players, I'm normally always in favor of it. I worry about what the limit is to that. What is the limit to how many good football players you can go at a cost, right? Like at a cost of, it is still an asset in whatever pick that you trade. I get what Reeta's saying about second round picks. Femi, to your point, if it was required a late first round pick, I understand the argument entirely. But at some point, we do this with everyone. Why not trade every pick for every good football player, right?
No. Don't play that game. Don't play that game. That's not what we're talking about.
I know, this one's far more.
No, we're talking specifically about a specific guy. I'm not saying go out and get someone else. Jonathan Taylor is the only guy I want to do this with. Right. I'm not going to say trade every pick. But see, this is the thing, though, Glenn. When you say trade every pick, you throw water on the specificness of what we're talking about. We're talking about a particular guy with a particular skill set that to fill a particular need on particular teams have particular problems at that position. This is a very specific request to fill a very specific need.
Glenn, but Glenn, you're referencing Roquan there, aren't you?
How so? What do you mean?
Well, you're talking about they kind of did this on the defensive side of the ball last year when they traded for Roquan.
But I was in love. I was in love with it.
Exactly.
Right? I was in love with it.
They did it for Marcus Williams.
Yep.
But like they made a big splash and gave up assets for Roquan last year, and that was a huge move.
So
Marcus Peters,
Marcus Peters, obviously,
a couple years ago.
It wasn't quite the same level of a price because they got that on that's one of the great trades
because he was a head case and was having problems. You know what I mean? So that's why. But and Jonathan Taylor's kind of I don't know what's going on.
No, and to your point, I don't know what the trade market is for Jonathan Taylor, Femi, and that's a huge part of this conversation too, right? Because if it's not a first round pick, I'm probably racing it at some point, right? If it is a first round pick, I feel like whenever you talk about trading away a first round pick, you got to stop for a second and really think about it.
I already did that though, Glenn. I stopped before I got on this call with you. You know what I'm saying? I stopped a long time ago. Yeah. So you
already handled that.
You love to throw some cold water
on
a reel. Like you're trying. No, we're not playing that game. No, I thought about it. I thought about it. I'm good with it. This is what I want to do. If I'm the GM, this is what I want to do.
And I'm not telling you. Yeah. Are you doing this? Are you like Tuesday? Are you making this call? Or are you trying to tread water for another week or two and see if you can get through these next 2 games, Steelers and then the London trip against the Titans, and kind of see how this plays out and string?
Are you asking me, Andrew, or are you asking Glenn?
I'm asking you because
you're all in.
You're like pushing the button.
This is how I would play it. If they're willing to make it a conditional pick, as is right now, and it could go as high as a first round pick, conditional, and you'll have a tiered. If he hits one threshold, it's a third round pick. If it's another threshold, it's a second round pick. These are easy things to do. These aren't hard. These are what GMs do in their sleep. You know what I mean? Yeah. So if they said, "Hey, Baltimore, we're willing to do something conditional right now," I'm doing it tomorrow. But if that's not part of the deal, if the Colts are saying we need a first round pick immediately as is, I'm like, nah. Let him come back to practice. Let me see him play a couple games. Let's see what he looks like. Let's see how he behaves. Then I'm gonna really be looking at it like week to week through a microscope at that point. But if they say conditional pick based on performance, it's done yesterday.
And I think that based on no one has bid so far. So I feel like that the conditional, adding the conditional factor to it is definitely more attractive to both sides because no one is just going to flat out be like, I want a first round draft pick. We've already heard the Colts say they want a first round draft pick. And
they wanted more than a first. I mean, what the Colts were asking for was absolutely absurd.
They didn't really want to trade him though.
Right. Of course. And
I've always attested that they never wanted to trade him. Well, now we're at the case where he's off the PIP because he's about to be off the PIP. It's about to be week 5. So now some decisions really need to be made. If he really doesn't want to be there, what are you willing to say, okay, I'm ready to let him go for? And I think that if a team comes in and says, I'll give you a second round, but conditional first round based on, I don't know, how many carries or whatever, touchdowns, whatever, the Colts would be like, sold. I definitely think that if they cannot work it out and Jonathan Taylor is still like, I don't want to be here. Send me somewhere else. then the Colts will definitely come off that whole multiple picks because they didn't want to get rid of him to begin with and say, okay, we have to find some value to get rid of him.
Femi, let me rephrase something I said, because I'm make a comparison to what Andrew brought up about Roquan Smith a year ago. Everyone agrees the Roquan Smith trade is looking like,
Brilliant, right?
Borderline a steal at this point, a second-round pick.
No, it is a steal, because again, you just already showed us the second-round picks that the Ravens have had, and I'm definitely good with Roquan being the pick over a second-rounder.
It's looking like it could go down as one of the great trades the Ravens have ever made if Roquan Smith can play at this level for the next 4 to 5. If he plays at this level for 4 to 5 years, this will go down as one of the greatest moves in franchise history, right? That's how good Roquan Smith is. There would be an argument made by some that the Ravens had bigger needs, though, a year ago, right? Like the argument that would be made is...
No, it would be a silly argument, though, not a real argument.
Well, I mean, they certainly had a need at wide receiver a year ago.
No, well, look, there wasn't a wide receiver available to trade for. So the bottom line is that they went from a 11 or 12th defense to the number 2 defense in the NFL when Roquan came over. So there's no logical argument that someone's going to win and really make a case that they can win. We can argue about anything. I can argue about anything. You know what I mean? But
I agree with that.
You don't agree with what?
No, I know. I agree with what you're saying there, but I do still think that it matters in the context of, is running back ultimately going to be the difference for this team and whether or not they win a Super Bowl versus whatever else they might need to do.
Well, they don't. I feel like everything else is locked up at this point.
Okay.
All the other positions are locked up at this point, in my opinion.
I would make the comparison to, what if there was an edge rusher on the market? What if there was a dominant edge rusher?
But there isn't.
That we know of. Now, we didn't know Roquan Smith was really going to be on the...
We knew
he wanted to be traded, but we didn't know for sure that they were going to do.
No. He was available. The Bears didn't want to pay him. New people in the front office. He wanted a new contract. The Bears weren't going to give it to him. The Ravens were ready to step in. The Ravens needed a middle linebacker. Just think about linebacker play with PQ as the middle backer and whoever the host of outside other backers were. It was not good. PQ gets to move outside to Will. And now the Ravens are a top 3 defense. There is no argument to be made. It was obvious across the league that Roquan was available, and this changed the Ravens defense for the long term. So there's no argument to be made, in my opinion.
I want to make abundantly clear, I am not arguing that they shouldn't have traded for Roquan Smith.
Yeah, and I definitely wasn't. You're playing devil's advocate in a way that I feel like is
hang on. No. I'm bringing up in the context of this. Let's just say Danielle Hunter was the other option, right? Who we do know was somebody that was on the trade market before the season and does seem to be at a position where we think there might be a greater need for the Ravens and would seem to be on paper a very good fit. That would be the comparison that I would make.
When Ojabo comes back, when Owe comes back, when Bowser comes back, they're going to be just fine. I do not think the outside pass rush position is more important for the Ravens right now in regard to bringing another. They brought in Jadeveon Clowney right before the season started. They brought in Kyle Van Noy last week. They have everybody that they need. Guys are going to get right. The running back position is still a massive concern for me. Gus Edwards is another hit to the head away from sitting out for multiple weeks. Justice Hill had a toe injury. I know all about that. I had my whole foot reconstructed. He's one trip away from being on the sideline as well. And I don't trust Melvin Gordon yet. I just don't. I watched him play for a long time. He fumbled the ball too much. And he fumbled the ball a couple weeks ago. And
now we all acknowledge he played well today. But
no, he did play well today. Yep. But for me, once again, one game does not trust build for me. You know what I'm saying? But I like what I saw. But my point is that Jonathan Taylor takes over the whole running back position. Now Gus is supporting him. We can get back to Gus bust stuff late in games on short yardage stuff. You have Justice Hill as a throw-in guy on trick plays. Maybe he gets 10, 15 plays a game. You let Justice Hill throw him a screen, give him jet sweep, hit him in the flat, do some little things with him. I think Jonathan Taylor, for me, based on what the Ravens need, he solidifies this team and the offensive side of the ball.
Reeta, if it was between Jonathan Taylor and Danielle Hunter, where would you be?
I think I'm with Femi here only because I trust Mike McDonald and what he has done in terms of scheme for the guys that have not been there. I think that he's done a great job thus far in terms of pass rush. And then at some point you do realize that those guys like Tyus, like Owe, and eventually Ojabo will come back, as opposed to the running back position where it's already a position that we toed a line because the injuries is so broad at the running back position. Because we haven't even talked about Keith Mitchell, and I think that's it's fair that we're not having this conversation, because what are we expecting from an undrafted free agent to do?
Mm-hmm.
What are we expecting an undrafted free agent to do, right? Do I think that pass rush is a concern moving forward? Yes, but I also have to realize that there are also guys coming back moving forward that will be back. And I'm a big fan of Van Noy. I'm not really sure why he wasn't signed sooner, but ultimately we're here. So I really like him, and I like Clowney. And I think that those guys, along with Mike McDonald scheming up some things, can handle the business until the other guys come back and get healthy.
Andrew, it seemed like you wanted to jump in.
I just think that you also got to take a step back and realize they're one win next week, and next week is next week away from sweeping the division on the road, which would be
already, baby,
incredibly
let's go.
massive. And I'm not sure if anybody saw this. Kenny Pickett left the game today, and we might be facing
Yes,
Mitchell.
Yep.
Might be facing Mitchell Trubisky next week. Like that's
so. I look like a shoulder injury.
If you look, I missed with the
injury.
Yeah, I think it was a knee.
Oh,
so if you look at the next few weeks, though, and I'm not trying to get ahead of myself, don't get me wrong, but you might be facing Mitchell Trubisky, you might be facing Ryan Tannehill or whatever the Titans want to throw out there in London. You got Jared Goff at home after that, and the Lions.
To be fair, the Titans look great today. Obviously,
they did, but who knows?
Mm-hmm. Like, I agree. Yep.
You got the Cardinals and whoever they're deciding to throw out there at quarterback after that. Then you got Geno Smith at home with the Seahawks before you turn around and face the Browns and Bengals at home. The next few weeks could be very fruitful if that pass rush that we're like so worried about can just do enough, and the offense can again start to build. Like this could have been a really important, because this was a scary game leading up to it, talking about that defense and not knowing the Deshaun Watson news until we got it earlier this morning. Like this was pretty massive, and I'm kind of, I don't know. Everybody wanted to freak out last week. Glenn, you and I know we were not really that freaked out after last week. We were just like, this stuff happens.
I was more disappointed. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I was more
exactly right.
I felt like I was on edge. I was on edge all week. I was just mad. I think Trippy alluded to it earlier. He was like, I'm just glad I could get that taste out of my mouth. That's how I felt. I was just irritated. I was like, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this. I mean this genuinely, because a lot of people like to, say, I'm just going to say there were 9 different events that took place in that game. When you take away one of those 9, the Indianapolis Colts lose the game. 9. Yeah. I counted them. I counted each one. And zero exaggeration or hyperbole when I say that. So they got lucky. Good. Hey, God bless them. And good luck. You know what I mean? Good luck. I hope we see the Colts in the playoffs down the road. I don't know if they're a playoff team or not. Their defense is playoff caliber for sure. They got some good. They got some nice. Zach Moss looks nice. I know Michael Pittman Jr. is nice. And Richardson, hey, he's coming around. He's coming along. I don't know if they ended up winning or losing that game, because
they lost in overtime, but they mounted a nice fourth quarter comeback.
But they ended up tying at one point. It was 23-0, and it was tied at 23. Oh
yeah. They made a 15-point comeback in the fourth quarter.
So we're on this, and we're on the same page. So I think, like Andrew, I actually agree with you on everything that you said. Kind of macro view. The concern that I have is, the Detroit is on the upswing. Arizona is on the upswing, right?
There's always speed.
The Titans always play us tough. That goes back to the 2000, 99, 90. Like the Titans,
AFC Central, baby.
Exactly. They're division opponent. The Titans are division opponent. I don't care who's out there.
Absolutely.
It's gonna be a tight game. You know what I mean? And I hate when the Ravens go to London. Damn, I hate that so much. I just had this taste of Jacksonville Ravens 40-7 back in like 2016. I just got a chill. I just got a chill when
you said that.
Yeah. 2017.
I think he got sacked. He got sacked like 10 times in that game. Not exaggerating. I think he got sacked 10 times in that game. So I just had this flashback. I think, Glenn, you mentioned something before about a flashback to something. I have those flashbacks too about certain things. But I think to kind of, put a bow around what you said, Andrew, totally agree. I think that the Ravens are in control of their destiny, and they always are in September and October. The problem is December. You know what I mean? The problem is making sure everybody's healthy, especially Lamar. Lamar's playing at an MVP level. He's making good decisions. He just got to take care of the football. He literally put that ball out there and he tried to flip it to the running back. That's how Justice Hill fumbled it.
It was a bad exchange.
You just got to hold that, and you just got to go down. Lamar because Lamar is so gifted and so otherworldly in his talent, sometimes he feels like he can overcome anything.
Man,
but I think he's learning that he can't, and he just needs to get down and just swallow that. You know what I mean? That's all he's got to do.
Femi, this is a really common talking point for Reeta and I when we do our shows together, because it's like the check down. One of the things I've been happy about this season is how many times he's been willing to take a check down. Because in past years, for as good as, and no one has ever, we are number one on being Lamar's supporters here. One of the things that Reeta and I would talk about incessantly was it is infuriating how many times you look and you see there is someone standing there. There is an outlet. There is a vessel for him, and he just doesn't seem to want to take it. And I think you're speaking to what had been the issue, which is he kind of feels like he's Superman. And checking down just sort of wasn't interesting to him. And yet this year,
he's doing it. Yeah. I think Coach Monken said, look, Lamar, if all else fails, you got to check this ball down. Like he's really gotten in his head about it. But you know what? Steve Young made a statement many years ago, and I love Steve Young. I grew up in the Bay Area. I grew up in the Montana Steve Young eras, and I was spoiled as heck as a kid being a Niners fan, you know? And the thing that Steve Young always used to talk about is that if you want to become a 70% completion percentage quarterback, check the ball down.
Yep.
If you're a 60% check down guy, you'll become a 70% check down guy if you just throw it to the backs 4 or 5 times a game. That's the difference between being 60 and 70% for the course of a season.
And what's Lamar's percentage all of a sudden become this
74% right now. You know what I mean? Maybe a little higher after today. You know what I mean? So
it feels like it's been a difference this season. And again, when I talk about those encouraging things, those things that I've really liked about the direction of this team, it's such a small thing, right? It's not sexy to talk about, but I'm telling you, it is a small thing that I think has gone a long way, which is Lamar's willingness to say, this is the best thing to do on this play. Let's take advantage of what's there. You
know what's crazy about being in the NFL is that I was talking to a kid who I agreed to let interview me. I went to Santa Cruz High School in Santa Cruz, California. And this kid is a sophomore. He's an athlete, and he wanted to talk about sports psychology. Psychology is my undergrad degree. And I did a lot of meditating and a lot of visualization as an athlete. I was doing this before people even really talked about it. And I think Lamar is the consummate learner. And I think Lamar is willing to do anything that's going to make him better. But it's one thing to give something lip service. It's a whole nother thing that when the pressure is on you, that you're able to make that decision instead of what you usually do. And you've got to really get reps in under pressure, making that good decision, because you make bad decisions under pressure and that becomes a habit. That's the difference between, what's my man's name that was drafted by, was it Philly?
Carson Wentz. No, yeah, Carson Wentz.
Carson Wentz's issue was not his ability. It was between his ears. That's what got Carson Wentz up out of there. It wasn't that he didn't have the skills. He made bad decisions under pressure. Lamar wants to be good under pressure, not just the, other 80% of the plays, but the 20% when it's like really crunch time and it's third down and I got to make a play or I got to get out of bounds or I got to throw it away. Lamar wants to be able to do those things. And I see him really giving that like real time and real effort, not just lip service.
I want to say too, to add to that, and y'all can correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like this was in the same series where he took a sack that I just was like, you can't take that sack. And then he threw a beautiful pass to Zay Flowers. I feel like that was in the same series.
It was, and it was backed up to something like 2nd and 20. It was a long, I got to pull up exactly what it was.
I think it was
Reeta.
3rd and 17 or something like that.
Yeah. Something like that. Yep.
Yeah. And he, 3rd and 7, and they move the pocket a little bit, and he sends the play, and then he gets the ball open to Zay. And so while I don't love him taking the sacks that he's taking, my favorite thing though is that he's patiently waiting for his guys to get open, and he's finding ways to make plays. And I feel like that's something in the past maybe you just didn't have the weaponry to do it. It's very possible, right? Because Zay allows that for you now because he can get open. But now you have the ability to say, okay, I got to chalk that up as a loss. And now what do I have to do to make up for that? And Lamar, to me, it seems like he's finding ways to make up for the losses. And by losses, I mean, like taking sacks that you're like, yeah, you just can't take that sack at that moment.
It was their final drive of the first half, and it went from 1st and 10 to 2nd and 19 after the sack. Then there was a penalty, a hold on Simpson that bunts it back to 2nd and 29.
That's-
It was a 43-yard play to Zay Flowers
that's it.
following
That's
that.
it.
And it was a really impressive stretch from Lamar Jackson there. So I'm with you on that. Femi, we're going to go over the injury stuff like that. But I know we kept you even longer than we told you we were going to keep you. Is there anything else that was on your mind from today's game?
No, I mean, I'm happy with the win, genuinely. I still think I think there's a part of me that's just not satisfied. And I think you guys sense that. Like,
Yep.
I can't explain what it is. I'm just not satisfied. It's in my gut, and it's really bothering me because I know what this team can be.
Yep.
And they're not there yet, but they're winning, and I'm happy with that.
I
But I'm
agree.
excited to see where they're going to get to. And I just hope that the little things, like I said, I mentioned the penalties, I mentioned the ball security issues, and I mentioned special teams and Devin Duvernay. If they can get those three things kind of polished up, and I think they will, because Coach Harbaugh is a masochist about the details. He really is. I really think that they're going to get it sorted, and man, I'm excited I can't wait to see them in San Francisco on Christmas Day.
I love that.
I think it's too far down. I might be there too, because that's right near the crib. That's right near where I grew up. So I might be there too. You know what I mean? Reeta, if I'm there, I'm gonna holler at you for sure. I promise.
Absolutely, you got to.
Yeah, but I'm excited, but I'm not satisfied, and I'm borderline irritated still. Really, that's really how I feel, and I apologize if I took that out on you guys today.
We really love the fire.
No, I
Femi.
ain't gonna lie. I like that too. We need that. You know what I mean? You ain't
Yeah.
going sugarcoat it. Like, I feel the same way like you. Like, I'm happy, but I ain't satisfied. Like, I want to start seeing us throw the ball down the field, boy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just a little, you know what I mean? It's just the little things. And also about special,
they gotta fix the protection in order to do that.
right?
But
And also
I'm
about
with you
special
on
teams,
that.
because I had logged out for a second. I ain't hear it, but I'll go back and listen to it.
We
though,
were all,
but
yeah.
I heard you say Duvernay though. I don't know if it's just me. He don't look explosive on like kick returns, punt return. Is
Yeah,
it just
tentative,
me,
right?
right?
He's
We
tentative. He's
said
like
that.
tiptoeing. He's tiptoeing.
Yeah.
Right? It's like
And he's fair catching when he doesn't need to.
it's like, and when you look at other teams, like they always got this one little dude or somebody that's just fast that could just get us even 20, 30 yards. Like, come on, like, I don't know. But I mean,
I think Zay would be a hell of a returner. I don't want to put him back there because it'll just
I don't want to put him back there either.
But
I think
man,
he
can you imagine
definitely
Zay
can
returning
make it,
kicks though? Ooh, it would be silly. You know.
Femi, if you want to hang, you can. But if you got to roll, bro, we completely
I got to roll.
I totally understand, brother.
Yeah.
Thank you, Femi.
All right, thank
Femi,
you guys. Hey, I
look
really
forward to
appreciate
doing
it.
this
Hey,
again.
Trippy, Andrew, Reeta, Carson. Hey, I really appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Thanks for hosting me. And I no friendly fire. You know, hopefully, you know.
Bro, we love you.
I'm not knocking y'all off the pile. You know what I'm saying?
We love you, dude. We appreciate you, man.
Gotta keep it real.
Thank you. Femi Ayanbadejo, Ravens Super Bowl champion, and he'll be doing some more of these throughout the course of the season with us here on Project Game Day. We're so lucky, Reeta, obviously, to have Vontae Leach and Femi's going to get involved, and guys that are going to be joining us throughout the course of the season, and we love that. Let me go over a few things real quick that we haven't covered. This is the Project Game Day post-game show. Ravens win 28-3. It's brought to you by helpmygamblingproblem.org and Superbook Sports. Don't forget, Superbook Sports still offering you that great deal, up to $250 in a first bet match. Win or lose when you use the code GlennClark23 at superbook.com. Download the Superbook app. Still to come tonight, Jets getting 7.5 at home. I know it's easy to say hammer the Chiefs. They haven't always been great about covering big spreads in Patrick Mahomes' history, but for God's sakes, I mean, they're playing Zach Wilson. I'd be hammering the Chiefs tonight. hammering the Chiefs. Yeah, all right, tease them is what Andrew Steckus says. Superbook.com. Download the Superbook app. The code is GlennClark23. So a couple things from today. We really did not get updates at all. Jalen Armour-Davis goes out. We didn't really get an update on him. Did Morgan Moses come back in and I missed it?
No, he didn't
He was
return.
out. He was out.
So I didn't see any. I didn't see. Oh, okay. Thank you, Carson. Carson's got it. Morgan Moses will get an MRI tomorrow. That's the answer. Morgan Moses will get an MRI. So that doesn't really, unfortunately, tell us nearly enough about what we need to know about Morgan Moses. Arthur Millette did come back in before the game was over. So there's good news there. And I feel like there was somebody else that was on my list of injuries that I didn't see.
Daryl
Worley.
Worley.
It didn't seem like we got an update on him afterwards. So an already depleted secondary. It's even further depleted, hopefully, Marlon Humphrey's ready to come back next week as he's eligible.
Marcus
Hopefully.
Williams, hopefully,
Yep.
you know.
Hopefully.
This would be the perfect game for them to come back.
It would be really nice, wouldn't
Absolutely.
it, Trippy? It'd be really nice if that were the case. The other storyline that I stayed away from entirely this week. Now, in fairness, we had a lot going on this week, right? Obviously, Brooks Robinson passing away and the Orioles winning the AL East and all of that. We had too much to talk about. This absolutely absurd storyline that was created in Cleveland related to Roquan Smith is one of the dumbest things that I have ever in my life. And we have done a lot of bad bits in terms of football stuff that started on Twitter. This is as dumb as they get. That they
No,
attempted.
It's not dumb because people don't comprehend, people don't read. So that it doesn't surprise me at all. They took the context out of what it was that he said.
But there's difference. There's difference between not being surprised by it and it being dumb. I'm not surprised by it, Reeta. You're right about that. It's still dumb. It's still insanely dumb.
This is where I'm going to curse here. I'm going to use my first. I'm going to give me my.
Your first one of the year. All right.
On the year. But I don't give a fuck about any of that because at the end of the day, if you needed Roquan's words to pump you up for a football game, then that's on you. That works for college kids. Y'all grown men. Y'all don't need that. Super Bowl should be all the motivation that you need. So if you needed Roquan, who actually should have had 2 interceptions today to, say what he said to pump y'all up, then that's on you. And you still went out and lost. So
of
now
course,
what?
with the caveat being right. The caveat being he didn't even say anything. He didn't say anything at all. Yeah, right. That was one of the dumbest storylines that I'd seen in some time, and yet it was forced throughout the course of the week. And there, Roquan Smith is at the podium as you saw Carson. My God, who cares? Like we got to back up Roquan Smith. He didn't say anything. He talked about everything. It's like Brian Billick talking about you don't go tiptoeing into the lion's den, right? You go in like a banshee screaming, where is the son of a bitch? This was not about the Cleveland Browns. This was not all it was talking about playing in difficult situations on the road in big games. It was frankly a tremendous answer and really F all of them for making Roquan Smith now think about in the future whether or not he should. God, this was great. It was a great way of thinking about it, right? Like I'm trying to go in and take your livelihood. I'm trying to go in and take your manhood in front of your wife and kids. That's the way that football players operate. And every single one of them dudes over there knows the same thing. It's nonsense that they tried to make something out of that.
I completely agree. And you made and you did nothing with it. So now what?
Yeah, right. Yeah. How you feeling about yourself after all of that?
Because you didn't stop Roquan one bit. He played hard. He definitely was out there doing his thing, and y'all did nothing. Even if the Ravens did one, guess what? Zero was still out here unstoppable. So now what?
Yep. He is some kind of good. All right. Let's all give our man of the match for today. And then we can wrap this thing up.
I'm glad to see Mark Andrews back in the fold, baby. 2 touchdowns. Mark Andrews absolutely should have been. I knew at some point Todd Monken would put Mark Andrews back to where he should have been, which is the focal point of this offense. 5 targets, I believe, 5 receptions. So look, at some point, I think that what happened was Todd Monken didn't believe that Mark Andrews was 100% healthy. And I think that now, with the comments that he made this week about the way he looked extremely healthy, and that's why we're going to start seeing more of Mark Andrews, and that's absolutely going to be something that we're all delighted about. So I'm going to give it to my guy Mark.
Hang on, our guy Troy's checked in. I love Troy. What's going on, bro? It's good to see you.
Hold on, let me get off this special moment. Hey guys, how y'all doing?
Everything's good, man. How you feeling after a big win?
Satisfied, agree with all the comments, but we need more. Pittsburgh's next week, and the way they just got trounced in Houston, boy, they're gonna look for some motivation. My God. Ooh.
If they have a quarterback, that
if
is.
they have a quarterback too. I'm not liking the way this division is setting up here, man. Bengals losing to Tennessee, that was a bad one. Oh my goodness. Like this division, either way, is setting up for some craziness at the end of the year. Like
I don't mind getting a comfortable lead in the division, though, Troy.
Sunday, Sunday, it might not be looking too crazy at the end of the season.
I wouldn't mind building up a nice, comfortable lead and not
that
having
would be appreciative.
Yeah, not having to sweat through games at the end of the season. I'd be all right with that.
Glenn, and then another thing about the rest of the AFC division games, they home. Usually it's
Yep.
always away late in the
Correct.
season. You know what I'm saying? So
We talked about that last week. They absolutely creates a turn here. You go into Pittsburgh next Sunday, you win that game. To have won all 3 games on the road against division opponents goes a long, long way.
And plus, you got to take that 9,000-mile trip to London, for God's sake.
Yep,
So we
no doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. Trippy, who's your man of the match today? Sorry about that, guys. I got to learn my lesson one of these weeks and stop pulling up the box score on ESPN.
I actually got 3, but I'm gonna just say Brandon Stevens.
Okay.
I mean,
Yes.
he played a
him
decent
some
game.
love.
He had his first INT. You know, I mean, that was pretty good. I mean, yeah, I like him for the day. You know,
Yes.
I'm with it. I'm with it. Troy, who's your man of the match?
Obviously, LJ, I'll give him his man of the match, obviously. Andrews quietly stepped in and just helped him out today. I know I should have gave this one last week, but Kyle Hamilton, just for the season alone, has been playing quietly good. Quietly playing good this year. Like, everybody want to go after him last year. Like, he wasn't playing like a number 1 first round pick. Like, yeah, he's showing up this year. He's showing up.
I'm going to let my guy Carson, our producer, chime in. Carson, who's your man of the match today?
Oh, I'll take the easier out. I'll give it to Lamar.
Lamar was great. There's no doubt. Now that allows me. I'm giving it away because it was going to be my surprise tomorrow on the show. But my man of the match is completely off the wall. None of y'all mentioned him. And when nothing was going early in the game, I think we missed that this dude had his best game as a Raven yet, and he had to replace a legend. And Jordan Stout was awesome today.
Yes, he was.
Jordan Stout,
He was, yeah.
7 punts, 334 yards, a 47.7 per punt average, 3 inside the 20. When the Ravens didn't have anything going, 3 and outs their first few drives, he never allowed the Browns to get a short field to go capitalize on. I thought Jordan Stout was incredible today. It was the first time since he replaced Sam Cook that I found myself saying, I think he showed up and I think he mattered today. And I think he was a difference maker early on in the game before the Ravens asserted themselves. So it's completely off the wall. No one ever likes to give love to the punter, but I'm showing love to the punter today. And Jordan Stout is my man of the match. And Crippy's making a face at me, and now I'm thinking.
No. I like how you said that though, because like a lot of people don't know. Like I played kicker and punter in high school, so I like saying stuff like that. Like you feel me? Like
what is it? What's the line? Punters are people too, right? Like,
yeah, because
come
like
on.
if you think about it, like just like how like running backs are like a big part of the the team or the offense. I feel like special teams is like a big part of the team. You know what I mean? It's called field position because like he could have easily shanked a couple of them, punts and they could have been in the game. You know what I mean? So shout out to the special teams, Jordan Stout.
I thought Jordan Stout was great today. I thought it was a really good day for Jordan Stout.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, y'all. We did a long one today. Femi was fired up, man. Femi was.
Yes, he was.
I love that energy.
He was feeling
I love
it.
that energy.
I thought he was awesome today, and I love that, and we'll look forward to it more. Reeta, you and I will be together Tuesday night. We will be at Guilford Hall Brewery in Station North for the Tyus Bowser show.
Finally, another win.
After a win.
Hopefully we'll see everybody too. Trippy. Hopefully we see you guys too. It's a win, so hopefully that means something.
Well, I'm gonna
have somebody good.
We know, right?
I remember what Tyler said though. He remember everybody that was there, so I know he gonna see some more faces.
Oh yeah. No Orioles game on Tuesday night, right? No excuse. This is a great night to come out and celebrate the Ravens win. So join us at Guilford Hall Brewery in Station North on Tuesday for the Tyus Bowser show. PressBoxOnline.com/Bowser for that. Thanks to helpmygamblingproblem.org. Remember, if you or a loved one has a gambling problem, 1-800-GAMBLER or helpmygamblingproblem.org for free confidential services. Troy, appreciate you, man. Trippy, love you, bro. Reeta, love you, my friend. Thank you to Carson. We will see you guys again next Sunday following Ravens Steelers. This has been the Project Game.